Buried beneath the humour, style and nostalgic beauty in Wes Anderson's latest film, loneliness is presented as a necessary condition for creative life. In the restless, living city of Ennui, home to the French Dispatch, each citizen has a community and a sense of belonging. The old people have the hovel district, the pickpockets have their cul-de-sac, the students have the flop quarter, even the vermin have woven themselves into the fabric of the city, with the cats colonising rooftops and the rats taking to the subway. The writers of the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun, however, are foreigners in this tight-knit city. Whilst to some extent they have each other, as well as the fierce protection and nurturing of their editor, the film makes no illusions that their expatriate lifestyle is beset with solitude. Nowhere is this more felt than when Lucinda Crements is cast out of the student movement.
Pourquoi elle y participe? Elle devrait maintenir une neutralité journalistique.
Crements, like her fellow foreigners, cannot pierce those close-knit communities of ennui. Journalistic neutrality, then, is a metaphor for the plight of the outsider who must stand at a distance, observing but never getting too close.
It's a lonely life, isn't it?
Sometimes. It's true. I should maintain journalistic neutrality, if it exists.
This sense of isolation is perfectly captured in Equal in Paris, an autobiographical piece by James Baldwin, who served as one of the many inspirations for Anderson's film. He notes that the French personality had seemed from a distance to be so large and free, but for the foreigner it was full of strange, high, dusty rooms which could not be inhabited. Despite this alienation, each writer makes clear that they have deliberately chosen this path. Isolation, they claim, elevates their writing.
Take me at my word. I live by myself on purpose. I prefer relationships that end. I deliberately choose to have neither husband nor children. The two greatest deterrents to any woman's attempt to live by and for writing.
Crements echoes the real-life writer that her character is based upon, Mavis Gallant. Much like her fictional counterpart, Mavis deliberately moved to Paris in the hope that she could devote herself entirely to writing.
I wanted to live as a writer and not as anything else. I was looking for a place where that would be possible. I thought that I would stay wherever it was 2 years and then go back to Canada. I tried various places. I came to Paris and this was what I chose.
5 years before her death, a fellow journalist travelled to meet Mavis in Paris and interview her for Granta magazine. On reflection, she began to understand her need for distance and isolation.
In her essay What is Style, she writes, "Literature is no more and nothing less than a matter of life and death." I've thought often and hard about this statement. It seemed at first a sweeping declaration, somewhat opaque, but over time this observation has grown specific, profound, startling in its significance. Stories were her means of survival. She belonged to them and nothing else. The defiant choice she made to live as an expatriate, without a family, and solely by the means of her writing was, and remains, a revolutionary act.
But why the need for such extreme devotion? A clue may be found in Roebuck Wright, the author of the magazine's final feature article.
There is a particular sad beauty, well known to the companionless foreigner as he walks the streets of his adopted, preferably moonlit city, in my case, Ennui, France. I have so often shared the day's glittering discoveries with no one at all. But always, somewhere along the avenue or the boulevard, there was a table set for me. A cook, a waiter, a bottle, a glass, a fire. I chose this life. It is the solitary feast that has been very much like a comrade, my great comfort and fortification.
In each solitary feast, sat down with only himself as company, Wright enters into an implicit conversation with himself, reflecting on his experience and reaching a deeper understanding of the human condition. As is evident from the unique intonation evoked by Jeffrey Wright, the character he plays is partly based on James Baldwin. So it should come as no surprise that Wright's solitary feast philosophy is echoed in a 1962 essay by Baldwin entitled The Creative Process. In it, he lays out the conditions and purposes for a creative life.
Perhaps the primary distinction of the artist is that he must actively cultivate that state, which most men necessarily must avoid, the state of being alone. That all men are, when the chips are down, alone, is a banality because it is very frequently stated, but very rarely, on the evidence, believed. Most of us are not compelled to linger with the knowledge of our aloneness, for it is a knowledge that can paralyze all action in this world. There are, forever, swamps to be drained, cities to be created, mines to be exploited, children to be fed. None of these things can be done alone. But the conquest of the physical world is not man's only duty. He is also enjoined to conquer the great wilderness of himself. The precise role of the artist, then, is to illuminate that darkness, blaze roads through that vast forest.
Baldwin goes on to suggest that this state of being alone allows the artist to exist outside of society, a condition necessary to truly discover the mystery of the human being. Whilst society must accept some things as real, the artist must know that visible reality hides a deeper one, and that all our action and achievement rest on things unseen. Therefore, loneliness empowers the artist to drive to the heart of every answer and expose the question the answer hides. In this sense, making art, or writing stories, is an almost spiritual endeavour that extends beyond the realm of mere craftsmanship. Unbound by social and cultural constraints, it is a liberating journey towards ultimate truth. This is what Roebuck finds at the end of his story, a self-realization that the life of a foreigner is a constant, unfulfilled search for something missing.
I'm a foreigner, you know. The city's full of us, isn't it? I'm one myself.
Seeking something missing. Missing something left behind.
Maybe with good luck, we'll find what eluded us in the places we once called home.
This idea of the need for the artist to extract themselves from society is more explicitly explored in the story of Moses Rosenthaler.
Born rich, the son of a Jewish Mexican horse rancher, Miguel Sebastian Maria Moisés de Rosenthaler trained at the École des Antiquités at significant family expense. But by the end of his youth, he had shed all the luxuries of his comfortable background and replaced them with squalor, hunger, loneliness, physical danger, mental illness, and of course, criminal violence.
Not only does Moses abandon every connection to conventional social norms, he also literally separates himself from society through going to prison. Only then can he begin to search for the deeper reality that Baldwin describes. Within the confines of prison, Moses eventually falls for the prison guard, Simone. Yet he is swiftly rejected by her, plunging him into despair.
I don't love you.
What?
I don't love you.
Already?
Already what?
Already? How do you know that? How can you be sure so quick?
I'm sure.
Ouch. That hurts me. The cruelty of it. The cold-bloodedness.
In that moment, Simone is transformed from Moses' idealised lover to a cruel, cold-blooded reminder of unrequited love. This is what he sees in the ceiling, not a literal image of Simone herself, but a visual rendering of how he feels about a future without her.
I'm gonna need art supplies. Canvas, stretches, brushes, turpentine.
What do you want to paint?
The future. which is you.
This dichotomy between literal images and abstract impressions is later explained by Cadazio.
Look at this. Drawn in 45 seconds right in front of me with a burnt matchstick.
A perfect sparrow. That's excellent. May I keep it?
Don't be stupid. Of course not. The point is, he could paint this beautifully if he wanted. But he thinks this is better. And I think I sort of agree with him.
This is the deeper truth that Baldwin describes in his essay on the creative process. Rosenthaler could have painted a literal image of Simone, the sparrow, and society would have welcomed it as a beautiful yet familiar image. But Rosenthaler's isolated lens no longer views things through this popular perspective. Instead, he digs deeper, beyond our preconceived notions about what an image of Simone should look like, and labours to uncover the truth of his feelings for her. This truth, as Baldwin would argue, is only reached through Moses' isolation from society.
I don't get it.
Of course you don't.
Am I too old?
Of course you are.
Why is this good?
It isn't good. Wrong idea.
That's no answer.
My point. You see the girl in it?
No.
Trust me. She's there.
Ultimately, the story of Moses Rosenthaler is almost an allegory for the story of Wes Anderson and his beloved work. Many reviews point to the fact that this is Wes Anderson at his most Wes Anderson-y, delving full tilt into his meticulous style and aesthetics. Of course, Wes could have simply told his story in a more conventional Hollywood-like manner by separating his anthology into a trilogy, sticking to a single genre instead of venturing into animation, and shortening the wordy script from the length of a novel to that of a novella. But this wouldn't be his film, it would be society's film. In the words of Cadazio, he could make a normal film if he wanted to, but he thinks his film, The French Dispatch, is better. And I think I sort of agree with him. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to go and read the written version of it, please go over to my Medium page. I'll link it down in the description, as well as all of the sources that I used to write this essay and make this video. Please do consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you so much.